This is my first music production tutorial online on the Digital Audio Workstation, or DAW, Reaper. Reaper allows users to try out the app before buying, which is very generous. It's only €60 too if you decide to buy, which makes it one of the best priced DAWs out there. In this video, I take you as a complete beginner to start working with audio. If you haven't installed it yet, you can download Reaper here and follow the instructions. There are many ways of composing music and sounds. Probably the easiest way to start is with some samples. I've put together a folder of audio files you can play with, which is in the YouTube video description. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. While there are many levels to music production skills, I'm going to stick with the most basic explanation for now, and we'll go into detail in subsequent videos on the topic. So we've opened up Reaper. We're going to start by changing the BPM first. The BPM is just down here, the beats per minute. I know that the stems or the audio files that I provided in the link in this video description, they're at 134 BPM, so I just type that in, 134. That means all the grid lines are all set up for that BPM. First we'll go to insert, media file. If you download, they should be in your downloads. If you download my audio files, they should be in your downloads, but my ones are here. 6 tracks. Click open, select them all and click open. I always used to just go OK with this. I've never used the other options. So we've got 6 tracks in here now, and I can listen to them by moving the playheads to the start. This button down here brings playhead right back to the start. I'm going to bring these audio files as well back to the start by clicking and dragging. So I'm just going to select the first 8 bars by clicking and dragging in the timeline up here. You can adjust that by just go to the edge of it. This icon appears and you can move it around. It's snaps to the grid. Now I want to go down to the repeat, toggle repeat. That means that when this playhead gets to the end, it goes back to the start and just loops back. You'll notice that I've got a little red clipping signal here. It means it's too loud. It means it's distorting the shaker. I'll just take it down a little bit. See what. Yeah, it's not distorting anymore, so that's good. This is your session view up here and your mixer view down here. These tracks correspond to these ones up here. Say the shaker, this is the knob to change the volume, but you could also change it down here with this fader, up and down. Just do some basic editing. To do a slice, to chop one of these up, you have to have the track selected like that. It's white, and then you put your playhead where you want to chop. Hit this S button. That's just sliced out there, so it's becomes separate. There's a number of things you can do. You can duplicate by going Command D. It creates like a loop, which is handy for composing. When everything's on the grid, everything just lines up right. If you want to hear your metronome, you click that button there. If you want to make edits across multiple tracks, use this here, click and drag, and you can just chop out. There's also, deselect that. There's also Command C to copy, and then you can move your playheads, and Command V to paste it wherever you want. This is your mixing view, and this is your session view up here. You spend most of the time in the session view. Your master is here, and you just generally leave that where it is. So we're going to start by putting some reverb onto these congas here. Actually, would select this here, so it's looping over the congas. And what I'm going to do is going to hit the FX button on the conga track. And this brings up this options here. These are all your VSTs. VSTs are like small little programs that affect audio in particular ways that work inside the bigger program, the big DAW, digital audio workstation. So we're going to start by going to Reverbate. Click on that, and then this brings up this window here. And you can see that this reverb is the sound that you get in different types of sizes of rooms. You'll notice reverb, say in the church or big massive buildings. It'll be more, you can hear the sound that goes up and bounces against the walls and comes back to your ears. The sound that you make inside a room bounces against all the walls in the room, and it bounces back to you, and that sound that you get is the sound of the room, and that's your reverb sound. And you can adjust the size of the room here by making it bigger or smaller. I'll just play and I'll just adjust. It's pretty subtle, but this one is, you can hear it's quite a big size room. Your dampening, it takes away some of the high frequencies of the reverb, which is generally, it's a good thing usually, but I just leave it there. Your stereo width, you can make it wider or more mono. Your initial delay is the amount of time it takes, the amount of milliseconds that passes before this starts working. Your low pass is like to get rid of your high frequencies. Your high pass is to get rid of your low frequencies. Wet is the affected signal, and dry is the signal without the effects. I'll just play the dry on its own. No effects. Bring the wet in. You can hear that's a big change. You can also try these presets here for different situations that you need reverb. Snappy kick, or wonder if there's anything for congas. No, but you could use snare maybe. That sounds quite good. I think I'll take less reverb though. Good thing usually, but I just leave it there. Your stereo width, you can make it wider or more mono. Your initial delay is the amount of time it takes, the amount of milliseconds that passes before this starts working. Your low pass is like to get rid of your high frequencies. Your high pass is to get rid of your low frequencies. Wet is the affected signal, and dry is the signal without the effects. I'll just play the dry on its own. No effects. Bring the wet in. You can hear that's a big change. You can also try these presets here for different situations that you need reverb. Snappy kick, or wonder if there's anything for congas. No, but you could use snare maybe. That sounds quite good. I think I'll take less reverb though. Other things you can do once you have audio in is you can adjust EQ. Let's go to the shaker, and I'm going to go click on the FX button, which opens up this tab again. Cocos is the ones that are free. I'm going to go for RIA 8 EQ. RIA EQ. Double click or click add. An EQ allows you to change the particular frequencies within a sound rather than affecting the whole sound. You can make bass louder or quieter, or high parts higher or lower. The main thing you'll be doing here is just boosting and attenuating, turning down some sounds. Generally, with the bass, you want quite a bassy sound there, of course, but the other sounds you want to take the bass out. So I'm going to take this is the lower frequencies here. I'm just going to change this into a high pass. Just create this type of curve here. This changes the curve the extremeness of the curve. I'm just going to have a nice mild bump, not too extreme. These frequencies down here, you can't really, they're below the human perception, but if you don't take it out, it conflicts with other frequencies in that range, which can dull the sound. If you get rid of those lower frequencies out of the tracks that are not the bass can really kind of have its space and sound louder and bigger. So I'm just going to take this bit out of most of the tracks. I also think that you can see the shape of the track of this. You see the high frequencies here are quite louder, and the lower frequencies are low. We can take quite a lot of those out. You hear how it changes. Maybe I'll boost a little bit of the highs, get that clicky, bright sound. I could take some of the mids out, or boost the mids. Just try and experiment with this and see what kind of different sounds you can get out of it. The main thing you'll be dealing with is or band. These are band, and this is a high pass, the one we just did there. So high pass and band are probably the ones you'll be using most of the time. Just try those out. There's also presets. These are handy. You just want to try out what they sound like. They're set up for different types of situations. This one's for a kick. This one's for vocals. You can see I'll try those different presets as well. This time I'm going to try and affect the percussion. I'm going to put a delay on there. So I go to effects again, down to Cocos again, this time re-delay. Delay is like an echo. Also this, you've got the options of using presets again up here, but your main faders that you want to use are the length musical. Changes the length of you want the feedback to be fairly high so that it rings on longer. And these are the types, like 1/8 note. This is like 1/8 note repeat. Your dry signal is the effect signal without this effect, and if I turn that down completely, this is just these wet signal or the affected signal. You've got low pass and high pass like you do on your EQ to get rid of low frequencies with your high pass, and you can leave the rest where it is. And that is delay. There are a number of things you can do to the audio once you have it in here. You could reverse. Let's do a slice here. I'm just going to slice this so it's on its own. Then I'm going to right click, item settings, which opens up this other tab here, and just go down to reverse active take, which will reverse it. Listen to it on its own with a solo. It's a cool effect. Sometimes I have it at the end of a bar before it starts again. You could also take this bass and double click on it. It brings up these options here. I could transpose it up an octave by going to the pitch adjust semitones, and if I put in 12, that's an octave. It will put it up one octave, or if I wanted to put it down one octave, I put it minus 12. But I'm going to put plus 12, click apply, OK. Now you have a bass that is up by an octave higher. If you have a track that's really, really low This one's alright, I mean, but say if it was even lower than that, you want to normalize it generally. So you just double click on it, go down to here, just below where we were before with the pitch adjust. Click on normalize. The peak is perfect. You just go OK in this option here. And now it's brought the volume up as high as it can go, but without going too far and clipping, causing distortion. So that's handy when you have like a very low, like a track you might have recorded and it was very, very low. It's a good option. Also, you have fades. If you go up to the corner of a track, you'll get this little option here. See this little icon? If you click and drag, you can create a fade, which means the volume goes from the normal volume up here down to zero down here, down to zero. You can cause a crossfade as well by just bringing two audio files together. Say if I did a slice here and I brought this up here, it causes an automatic crossfade, which means one fades is going down while the other is going up, so it fades seamlessly. To hide. Automation allows you to change these effects while it's playing, and it records the movements. So to do that, you want to we'll go to the shaker and hit the trim button. In here you get a lot of options. You're going to click on the pan, make it active and visible. Just click in there. Your most often automated is pan and volume usually. I'm just going to demonstrate the pan. You have to set it up to right first. Right click on it and then you click this right here. It means it's ready to record. So when I record and move this fader, moving the sound from left to right, it'll record my movements as well. So back to start, press record. Yeah, so it's recorded. The thing you have to do straight after this is right click in here and go to read, because if you don't do this it'll just record over. So back to read. There's a few other things you should know about this part up here. Up here you've got your metronome, if you want to hear the metronome. And you can change the BPM down here. You can change the time signature right there. You can change the time signature right there. Up here, sometimes if you did a lot of work and you don't want to make any mistakes or changes that you're not aware of, sometimes it's better to put the locking on. Very rarely to use it though. I mean, sometimes you might change something without realizing, and if you have the lock on, it just keeps it there like that. You also might have a problem where you can't do anything and the lock is on, so that's your problem. You just lock off. This is for working with grid. The snap enabled, that just means everything moves in increments of bars. See the way that it's moving in a bar rather than smoothly. If I take that off, it means it can move smoothly rather than in increments. If you're working with a grid, use that. Grid lines, I'm using the grid, so yeah, if I don't want it, just take it off. This is fine, leave it where it is. These are all just leave them where they are, they're fine. And this is for chopping out large chunks of multiple tracks like that. You can take over a multiple like that, drag it and click. I don't usually use that very often. And that's the panel there. So mastering, I've got some tracks in here that I've been mixing. and I want to master. So this is about my loudest part of the tune, so I'm just gonna make a little loop here, make sure this is repeat enabled. You see here it's gone red, it's gone clipped, too loud. What you can do is say if all my levels are too loud, I can go down here in the mixing area and shift click. It selects the whole lot of them. Select one on one side and then shift click on the other side. It'll select them all. If you hit command and now drag any of these faders up or down, they'll all come up or all come down. I'm just going to take them down a tiny bit, like 1 dB or something. I still got some crazy bits popping out there. I'm just going to tame that with some compression and a little bit. What we want to do is we want to work on the master channel. Press the effects button there. My first plugin I've got is RIA EQ. If you just find that in Add Effects, add RIA EQ. This is an equalizer. It's basically a volume for particular frequencies within the sound, rather than turn all the frequencies up or down at the same time. I'm just going to take this one here and then just boost it a little so you can see what's happening. You can see at different parts the frequencies, it gets boosted higher, and the mid frequencies here, and the high frequencies up here, and the low frequencies down here. You can also take out those frequencies, which see, it feels kind of empty in the middle there, taking all the a lot of the bass frequencies out, a lot of the highest frequencies gone. You generally don't want to be making crazy adjustments like this in the mastering stage. If you have to do stuff like that, it's better to do it in the mixing stage, because you're affecting all the tracks at the same time, which might be good for a couple of the tracks, but it'll be adding or taking away frequencies from other tracks that it'll cause problems. Generally as well, with mastering, sometimes you want to take, say this one, you click on the first one and then select here high pass. That means it's taking all these frequencies, these lower frequencies that we can't hear really. I mean, just at the edge, we can't really hear these lower frequencies, and they take up a lot of space in the mix, and they cause everything. It quietens the whole mix, and makes it less powerful. So if you take that out, paradoxically, it actually gets a tiny bit louder. Because of that freeing up of the mix. So you get about mastering is one of the main things is getting it louder and as powerful as commercial tracks on TV or radio. If you ever play your track after one of these commercially mastered tracks, you'll notice that the volume is the major difference in the power and the volume. So you want to get somewhere close to the volume of these commercially mastered and mixed tracks, which it's hard to do without kind of causing a bit of distortion and taking a lot of the kind of high end qualities down a little by introducing more volume. Yeah, there's also sometimes people like to boost the highs. Take this and just boost it a little. Hear all the highs. You just want that a little bit. Just a tiny bit. They call this air. A little bit of air up here, which is very high frequencies that are just at the top of our perception of sound. but it gives it a little bit of space and a little bit liveliness to the mix. So your options mainly are going to be band passes or high or low passes. You want to generally use your high pass to get rid of your, this command said that, your very most low frequencies. And as well, you want to leave these things pretty much where they are. If you want to take a particular frequency, say this, I want to take 200 hertz out a few, say I'll move this down to 200 hertz, and I want to take out a few frequencies, but I'm taking like this wide amount of frequencies. I want a narrower, I use my bandwidth, makes it narrower, so that means I'm only focused on the frequencies at 200 and I'm bringing them down by 5 dBs. Maybe I'll just do 3 dBs. A lot of mastering engineers will do this around 200 hertz because a lot of mud or not unclarity, lack of clarity is caused by a lot of frequencies in this region. If you dip it a tiny bit, it also frees up a bit of clarity to the mix, just like the taking out this much lower part. But that's the EQ. You generally want to do the EQ on each of your tracks in the mixing stage, and generally with the bassier sounds like the bass instruments and the kick drums and all that kind of stuff, they generally want to leave the frequencies in, but any other frequency that is generally higher, like maybe like a guitar might not have these like really low frequencies, but they take up space in the mix, and if you don't take them out, it'll cause problems. So as well with the vocals and that, you can even cut even more. Vocals generally are around this region here. So when you cut those out, it just cleans things up in the mix. And for the mastering, you just want everything to be as subtle as possible. Now that's the EQ. This other one I want to go for is the 1175 compressor. You can find that at effects and search 1175. With this one, the compressor, it takes your highest or your loudest sounds and turns them down a little bit, so that the whole volume can be then brought up, which brings up the lower kind of quieter elements of the mix, and the levels become more similar, and we perceive it more clearly in that way when it's compressed a little. So with this one, you got your threshold, which is pulling down the highest, loudest peaks. I'll just show you what's happening here. You can see there's a red comes here. This just shows how much is being taken from the peaks. Make it really extreme, it's taking like loads down off, but we just want a little bit. I'm just gonna do minus 6 dB. You can if you're quite low on volume, I'm quite high on volume here already, but you may want to bring up your volume a little bit with your gain. Bring the gain up a little bit. Your mix is your difference between your dry unaffected signal and the affected signal by this. So if you want a more subtle effect, you just take down the mix a little bit. Yeah, this is going to be dependent on your track, but generally slow attack and slowish release. Actually, where it is here, where this mark is a good kind of indicator, and where this as well is a good indicator to keep it around there. Depending on your track, you can move it around and you'll get different qualities of sound. So that's doing a minus 6 dB gain reduction, and I've boosted it like the whole volume then by 1.5 dBs. I've left the mix at 100%. So that's your compression. You can do this individually on each track as well. if you have like a sound that is very dynamic, that has a lot of difference in the low, quieter sounds and the higher, louder sounds, you want it to be more even, then you use compression. You can use this on your mix. The last in the chain is real limit. There's other things you can put in here. You can put like a stereo imager. Ozone stereo imager is free if you want to download it. I didn't include it in the VSTs. I forgot about it. But that will widen your stereo field and make it feel bigger track. I'd put that after your compressor before the limiter, but you don't need it. You don't have to have it. Real limiter, similar to compression, but it's more extreme. You want to do here is put a minus 0.1. Means it will never hit 0, never distort. As loud as it go, and it's doing the same things. It's if you bring this threshold down, it's turning on. See when the threshold's just at its default state, track comes through. Now if I pull down the threshold, you can see it's expanding the volume, squashing it, and getting as most out of it as possible. The more I do this, the more kind of distortion and other kind of artifacts that come into the recording which are not desirable. So I'm just going to use a tiny bit of this threshold. See around here, you don't want these little peaks, you don't want to get them too squashed. You can see them, this one has been squashed down. You see now that I have my limiter on, it means that this will never get into the red again, and the parts that are that loud will get squashed down. So that's a very simple basic explanation of mastering. There's other things you can do, but for now you want to take it very subtle. You don't want to make too big of changes in the mastering. You generally just want to get your loudness up as much as possible. At the very end, when you've got everything, all the levels kind of leveled out, and you've put your effects and any automation that you want to put it in, you've done your mastering. Now it's time to finish up. You want to select, I'll just select this again, just click and drag over the whole project up in the timeline, just so it's all selected. Make sure there's no audio files over here. Go to File, then down to Render. Now here, your master mix, that's good. Entire project, just click Time Selection. Entire project is okay sometimes, but time selection, just you're for sure you got it right. Put your name down here. Usually I pick my directory, which is the browse for desktop is usually handy. Select the desktop, put the name down here, and right here the sample rate, put it on 48,000. 44 is CD quality, but 48,000 is more kind of standard these days. Of course you want stereo, yeah. And down here you got options of different formats that you can render it as. You can render it as a WAV, MP3. So a WAV is the uncompressed. Generally you want to go for that most of the time. And MP3 is handy as well if you just want to send it an email, small size. So just after you've got everything set up, go to Render to Files. That will make a WAV and a video, and this will go through the process, and you'll have it on your desktop when it's ready.